Friends and colleague Steve Smith, research professor with the South Carolina Institute of Archaeology and Anthropology, and John Allison, archaeologist, speak about the importance of archaeology, the process of historical preservation, and their work on the Liberty Trail. We hear first from John Allison.
My father, in 1974, called me when I was living in Walhalla, South Carolina, and said, I have permission to go onto the Battle of Camden site. We can figure out where people stood and where these battles occurred. So we went out to the Battle of Camden, and I found a lead rifle ball. It had been dropped by Patriot militia. My father was right. Somebody stood where I found that rifle ball, and I got very excited about that. And it has morphed into finding these battlefields and trying to help purchase them and preserve them.
On most of these sites, there's nothing there but a field now. That's really where the archaeology contributes. We can look at the landscape and tell the story.
You would never dream that some of these rural areas had battlefields where people died and blood was shed during the American Revolution. And that's the one wonderful thing about South Carolina. They're all not parking lots at this point. We're still able to find them and preserve the ones that are threatened especially, which is what American Battlefields Trust does so well.
People are interested in the past, and they want to come to see these sites, to walk across that field and say, this is where this occurred, this is where that occurred. But in order to preserve a battlefield, you have to know where it is, and you have to know where it isn't. You just recently found an important battlefield in the Low Country called Tar Bluff.
I was asked by the South Carolina Trust to meet with some property owners in Charleston. They thought they had a battlefield on their property. And I asked them how big their property was, because we're only talking about a few acres for a battle like that. Right. And they said it's 10,000 acres. So tasking us to find that was almost asking too much, but I'll try. We surveyed the property, and we hit on some British 75 caliber shot that had been fired and dropped. We actually found the battle on the second try, which is just nothing more than luck. But Tar Bluff was kind of a special one. John Lawrence died there, and he was one of the best friends of Alexander Hamilton when they were fighting in the North on the staff of George Washington. I truly believe I can stand within a short number of steps where John Lawrence was killed by the archaeology that was done there.
The Liberty Trail is trying to tell all these stories and combine them with being able to go and stand at those locations and then tell those stories. It's going to get people more and more interested in other areas and in their own history.
It's so important to preserve these battlefields because you learn from them and you get an appreciation for what some of these folks went through to let us sit here today with the freedoms that we have. We end up with the framework of a Declaration of Independence, a Constitution, and then a few years later, the Bill of Rights. So we have a great foundation in this country, and we've survived on that for 200 years.